Welcome back to another episode of the Media Pass. I'm your host, Alex, with my other host, Matt. Matt, how you doing?
There's like a saying, I don't know what movie it is, but they say like the two most important days in your life are the day you were born and the day you find out why. And last Friday, when we came up with this idea, that was the day I found out why I was born, to discuss this topic that is just so near and dear to both of our hearts.
Why don't you explain to the crowd what we're going to be doing today? The title probably gives it away. If you clicked on this or clicked on the video, you already know what we're doing. But just go ahead and lay it all out on the table and kind of explain the process.
Yeah. So I don't think anyone will contend here that what me and Alex do is very niche, right? It's not for everyone. It's not even for every basketball fan, like the way we discuss things. And me and Alex were part of a community, right? Most of our listeners are a part of this community. It's the NBA Twitter community, right? And sometimes our community, I myself included, can get a little snobby, right? And one of our favorite things to scoff at is top 10 lists or listicles or videos about lists because they're devoid of context and they're too arbitrary and all this and that. And I understand that. But as human beings, we have to acknowledge that lists are fun. They're cool. They're fun. And honestly, the reason I started getting into sports because I liked seeing top 10 lists. I thought it was cool and fun and enjoyable. And there was a way to make lists and have honest discussions and talk about philosophical things that pertain to the game of basketball. And that is what we're going to try to do today about a very specific player archetype. As the title reads, we're going to talk about combo guards, which, most people know as players who can play both point and shooting guard. Historically, this was kind of used as a derogatory term because, back then it used to be if you didn't fit into one specific position, you were kind of like a leper, a basketball leper. And so it kind of had a stigma to it. We are stigmatizing it a little bit with how we're classifying combo guards, but it's still very important, as I'm kind of going to explain. But basically here, when we're talking about combo guards, we're talking about offensively slanted players, offense first players. Most of their value derives from the offensive side of the ball, who can play both on ball and off ball and are guard size, right? So who does that eliminate? That eliminates guys who are lead guards, guys who can be your primary creator on a high level playoff team. How did we qualify this? We looked at guys who basically had been all-stars in the past, all-NBA guys, finals MVPs, Jamal Murray, who doesn't have any accolades for some reason, but is good enough to be your primary creator on a high-level team. So those guys kind of got eliminated from this discussion because they're not really what we define as that combo. They are the lead primary creator, right? And then also we eliminated guys who are two-way combo guards because most of their value isn't deriving from offense. It's their offense in combination with their defense. So that eliminates guys like Derek White, DeJounte Murray, Emmanuel Quickley. Also, for the sake of not having too huge of a group to pick from, we eliminated guys who played less than 300 minutes this year. That's just because there was no injuries to players of this archetype. And if you're not playing up to 300 minutes at this point in time of the season, it means you're probably not one of the top 10 combo guards. Before I turn it over to Alex, why is this important? Why do we need to know which combo guards are better than other combo guards? Let's go back in the past for a second to the 2022 playoffs. The Golden State Warriors, as you'll recall, won the NBA championship, right? And a big reason why they won the NBA championship is because they had Stephen freaking Curry as their lead guard, right? But the problem is Steph Curry, even with how much you rest him throughout the season, even how great of a aerobic athlete he is, he can't play all 48 minutes, okay? And so he's playing about 40, 41, 42 minutes, right? So you need a guy who can masquerade as Steph Curry for like 6 to 8 minutes. And then it'd also be nice if that guy could kind of amplify Curry in the 20 minutes they share together on the court, right? You need a guy like that because in the playoffs, like it's a game of inches any given Sunday, right? You lose those 6 to 8 minutes. Say you're like a minus 16 in those 6 to 8 minutes without Curry. That's the series right there, right? But lo and behold, in 2022, Jordan Poole came out and he was like awesome in those non-Curry minutes, able to like buoy their offense. And then when him and Curry played together, they were awesome. And a big reason why the Warriors won is because they were able to stay afloat during the non-Curry minutes. Fast forward, not flash. You could flash, but to the 2023 playoffs, and during those non-Curry minutes, Poole wasn't able to really help buoy the offense, buoy the team. And the Warriors lost that series to the Lakers. They had an underwhelming season by their standards. So this archetype matters. Like having that guy who can fill in for your primary and then also amplify them, that really matters. So yeah, that's why me and Alex are going to talk about them. And also because combo guards are just super cool and I love them so much. And yeah, I've talked too much. Alex, go ahead.
So I think that we should start based on everything that you just said after you kind of laid out the criteria. You should just go ahead and give your number 10.
Should we give them like the pool of guys we're talking about first though? So they know, or do you just want to leave it in the show notes?
Go ahead and lay out the pool. There is one guy that I think you included in your article that we, like you and I in our personal discussion, we kind of eliminated. And that guy, and I think it's worth shouting him out specifically because if we included him, he would have been very high on my list. But since we didn't include him, he's not. And I think it's good that we didn't include him. But Norm Powell is not on this list. And he was included in your article, which will be referenced in the description / show notes, whatever you want to call it. Norm Powell didn't fit. He didn't quite fit the criteria for a combo guard. And I think kind of the differentiator that we came to the conclusion of was that he wasn't enough of a combo guard. Like, I think to us, combo guard means you're doing the scoring and then also you kind of brunt the like offensive facilitation role in absence of like other stars on the floor. And you kind of operate as that primary facilitator. It doesn't necessarily mean you do it at extremely high level, but it means that those responsibilities are put on you, even if you are more of like a scoring guard. So it's kind of like the dichotomy of these two different areas of the offensive side of the ball. And that's why like a guy like Norm Powell was left off the list because he doesn't quite fit the mold of what we're talking about. So you go ahead and lay out the players that we're going to be parsing through.
Yeah, if you listen to our last episode, then you know we love us some Norm Powell here.
Yes, absolutely.
So there's 17 names we ended up coming up with, which doesn't seem like a lot for a top 10 pool, but it got very tough, as we're gonna get to in a second. But here, let me pull up those names. I had we were picking from Malaki, Branham, Austin Reaves, Jordan Poole, Anfernee Simons, Coby White, Cameron Thomas, Spencer Dinwiddie, Jordan Clarkson, Malcolm Brogdon, Tyler Herro, CJ McCollum, Malik Monk, Tyrese Maxey, Collin Sexton, Eric Gordon, Terry Rozier, Jaden Hardy, and I said Simons, right?
If you didn't, Anfernee
Simons. Yeah, he will be discussed here. So what else should I say? I guess one last caveat. I think once we get down to this, number 1 was pretty obvious. I'm sure you probably should have been able to pick them out based on the names. 2 through 7 is like its own little group, and then like 8 through 13 kind of had it. There was like a couple that were like, okay, you're not in this, dude. Sorry, you're not that guy, pal. But yeah, anyways, we'll do our top 10. We'll get into some honorable mentions. Do you want to do your 10th one first, or should I?
I'll go ahead and do mine.
Okay.
Number 10 for me is Malcolm Brogdon.
All right.
I think he's a good example. The thing that was weird to me with him is that I had to get myself into the mentality of like Malcolm Brogdon being a combo guard, because when I think about him, like I think about him as like a point guard. It's hard for me to kind of put him into the mold of like, oh no, you're if you go back to his Indiana days and then like even his Milwaukee days, it's like I kind of view him as like a less of a combo guard and more of like the point guard. Part of that is due to him kind of breaking the mold of typical combo guards in that he's stupidly efficient, which is atypical for combo guards generally. I would say like being 50, 40, 90 as a combo guard, I feel is very rare, because you're viewed as like that kind of score first guy. And, it's hard for that to happen if you're a high volume scorer. But Malcolm Brogdon is someone who's able to do both. And passing wise, I think he does a good job. Obviously, I think that you'll touch on this as well. Injuries have played a big part in his ability to contribute consistently throughout his career. But 10 made sense to me. What about you? Who's your number 10?
Yeah. I feel like I should have added this in before we even got into the list, before I share with you my thoughts on Malcolm Brogdon. We are doing this list based on where they are right now.
Right.
This is not forward facing at all. So if one of your young darlings is not as high as you'd like, please DM us at AlexHoops _
Yeah.
But yeah, so I actually had Brogdon 9. I gave him. He's a really, really good passer. He's a really good passer. He's bigger than most combo guards. He's strong. I think his one number metrics overstate what he does defensively. I think he's the beneficiary of a lot of shooting luck that Portland's had, especially in his minutes. But I still think, I mean, he's shown us like before, like in Indiana, he played through 4 games. He played 40 minutes a night in the playoffs. Last season's Boston Celtics run, he played 25 minutes per game on a stacked Boston team. The Heat series was rough, but he's shown us like he's not, and this is kind of like a thing where we're juggling here, is like none of these guys are like good defenders, or honestly almost all of them are not even like average defenders, right?
Yeah.
But the thing is, like, you bring a lot of offensive value, but you have to also make sure that your defense isn't so bad that we can't even enjoy your offensive value. Like, you can't even be on the floor when it matters. And I think Brogdon, he is solid enough on defense where, like, at least in like the first, second round, you can trust him to be on the floor and to enjoy his offensive exploits. I dinged him because, I mean, I don't like his volume too much. Rim pressure, not all that. He's older, injury riddled.
Yeah.
But yeah, great passer. Great passer. My number 10 was actually, so this is it already gets tricky, because if we had done this at the beginning of the season, I'd honestly probably have him number 2. Like, I used to be stupid high on him. You know, he was the main character of the intro. Maybe the reason I love combo guards, but just it's been 2 years now of just bad defense, bad shot selection, poor what's the word I'm looking for? Body what's the word when you're like you look
language?
sad? Body language. There you go. Yeah. Okay. You just look sad. But yeah, Jordan Poole was my 10th guy. It's kind of a respect thing. He's shown me in the past that he can be the epitome of this archetype, right? With the explosiveness and all that. But it's been a rough year and a half, and the jump shot's really scaring me. It's been a long time since he's been a good 3-point shooter. Even though the free throw numbers are still really high, I don't know. I put him there for respect because I know what he can do. I know what he's capable of, but it's just been, if it was just based on this season, like he'd probably be like second or third last, like out of this group. Like, he's been really bad this year.
Yeah. I have him as an honorable mention. But I'm in the same boat as you, where like we've seen the proof of concept with him. We know what he can be. And you know, this is a guy who his rookie year, like the worst player in the NBA. Like genuinely by pretty much every single metric and any way you slice it, he was the worst player in the NBA his rookie year. And he's come a long way. And I mean, even this year, he's been bad. Don't get me wrong. There's not a whole lot that I can say or like any mental gymnastics that I can do to try and say Jordan Poole's been bad this year. But again, it's like the talent is there. You have to consider the context of where he's at right now. It's a lot easier to be a winning player when you're on a winning team. And he's very young still. And the attitude problems that, are somewhat speculative. I mean, again, we're outsiders looking in. We don't know how much credence there is to that, but we can just we're just going off of what we see when we're watching a game. And the body language is not great. I have some concerns about like the passing. Obviously as a combo guard, you're not, it's important that you're able to pass, but it's not that you like have to be this primary offensive engine. But Jordan Poole has been better in the past as a passer, and this year he's definitely not been kind of up to snuff in that regard. But yeah, I would probably have him like anywhere from 11 to 13, like in my honorable mentions. But again, yeah, I think he's a good proof of concept guy of just like, we know what he can be. And if he gets back to it, then, he can be as high as like, top 3 on this list.
Can I just say,
yeah,
you could probably find a tweet if you really tried hard enough, but like 2 years ago, I used to tell people that Jordan Poole was better than Tyrese Halliburton. Yeah.
Wow.
That didn't age well.
That did not age well at all. Granted, Tyrese Halliburton's development is so unbelievably outlier. It's like not even funny. But that's a different pod. Shout out to Tyrese. That wasn't like a diss on him or anything. Please don't interpret it that way.
He's on fantastic. Social too, man. He'll catch us, man. If we're slipping. I'm
terrified of that. I know a couple people who are like in a Discord chat with him or a Discord server with him, and like he'll like send tweets apparently and be like, look at what this idiot said, like stuff like that. So I'm terrified of getting called out by Tyrese Halliburton. But go ahead and you had Brogdon at number 9, right?
Mm-hmm. So who's your 9?
So my 9 is Collin Sexton.
Okay.
Collin Sexton, I think the narrative with him throughout his career has been like this empty stats guy. He doesn't contribute to winning. He's a ball hog. He's terrible shot selection, isn't a very portable player, yada, yada, yada. There's all these different things that have been said about Collin Sexton in a negative, kind of a negative presentation. And I would say a lot of the complaints that people have had about Collin Sexton historically throughout his career so far, I don't know if those are fair criticisms anymore. I won't even say that I don't know if those are fair criticisms. I'll go ahead and say they're not fair criticisms. Collin Sexton has come a very long way from the kind of quote unquote one-dimensional player that he used to be, to now being a very team-oriented player, fitting in his role. In the wise words of LeBron James, quit trying to fit out and just fit in. Collin Sexton is fitting in, and he's doing it at a very, very solid level. Some numbers that I think really lend to this idea that he's contributing in more of a team context and not just looking out for his own numbers. If you look at assisted percentage, which is basically of your shots that you're making, how many of those shots are coming off of an assist from your teammate? Collin Sexton, in his rookie season, he had an assisted percentage of 39%. So 39% of his made shots were assisted. And that was in the 54th percentile, whatever. During his last full season in Cleveland, where he played 60 games, in 2022, he only played 11 games, so I'm not going to include that. But in 2021, his last season in Cleveland, his assisted percentage was 47%. So 47% of his made shots were assisted. Currently this year, on the season so far, 58% of his makes are assisted, which is up from 41% last year. So even last year, you can look at it and be like, yeah, he was, kind of more self-oriented, looking for his own shot. But this year, it's like very much, no, you're a team player. 58, almost 60% of all of his shots are assisted, or made shots rather. Another thing is Collin Sexton has always kind of been viewed as this high volume 3-point shooter, which is true. And it's not like he was always necessarily bad at it. He's generally been a good 3-point shooter throughout his career. But one thing about him is that generally his 3-point volume, particularly the shots that he's making, a lot of them were self-created. They weren't kind of off-ball made threes. They were give me the ball and I will create a three. His last full season in Cleveland, 68% of his made threes, or 68% of his made threes were assisted. This year, currently, 95% of his made threes are assisted. Only 5% of his 3-pointers that he's making are coming self-created. And I think that just really speaks to the role that he's accepted in Cleveland, where he's now gone from like this guy trying to prove that he can be a number 1 option or a number 2 option to now just being like, yeah, I'm a supporting player and I'm going to do that to the best of my ability. And I think the idea and the narrative that he is an empty stats, empty calorie, whatever you want to say, I think that narrative is dead. And, there are situations where I think a team could look at Collin Sexton and be like, we should trade for Collin Sexton if we can get him for the right price.
Man, where do you think I have Collin Sexton? Do you think he's on my list?
If I had to guess, if I were a betting man, I would say he is on your list.
Man, you should get into the prop game, man. You should start some DraftKings stuff. Maybe they'd sponsor us. Who knows? Yeah, I have him at number 8. So I'm a little bit higher on my guy Sexton than you, but I basically agree with everything you said. Like the thing you mentioned, the assisted 3-point percentage, the assisted field goal percentage, all that stuff. That's huge because that means like this Jazz team is not good, right? But if Sexton were to get traded, you can trust that he can fit in offensively next to higher level talent, that he can avoid eating away at their touches. A couple other Sexton stats that really jumped out to me. One thing, he's still shooting about 60% true shooting, which is like 2 points above league average. Pretty good. I think it's in the 61st percentile league wide, according to what I'm looking at. He's having a bad year from 3. He's only like a 34% 3-point shooter, and usually he's like a 38% 3-point shooter. So the fact that he can still be efficient without shooting well from 3 just is a testament to his rim pressure, his ability to generate free throws, which is like kind of a hard thing to get from this archetype because a lot of these guys are not super physically gifted. They rely a lot on handle, on craft, tough shot making. So I really like that from him. 2 other things that really jumped out to me. One, the Utah Jazz are 20th in offensive rating overall. But when Sexton's on the floor, they're in the 57th percentile in offensive rating, which is more like 12th in offensive rating, 13th in offensive rating. So he's boosting a pretty bad offense and making them above average with his presence on the court. And then the other cool thing, we said defense is not that important, but it's important to us that you're able to at least stay on the floor. He's in the 63rd percentile in deflections per 36 right now, which is, I think, in the top 3 or 4 out of guys in this group. So that's pretty good. Shows that he's active on defense, that he's a willing participant. He hustles, even though he's smaller, and he is prone to breakdowns with rotations and all that stuff. I like him. I like me some Sexton, man. Give me all the Sexton stock you're selling. Anybody out there, I love him.
Yeah,
love him.
The more I talk about Collin Sexton, and I've actually somehow ended up talking about Collin Sexton a lot over the past 6 months, just on random podcasts and random discussions. But like, I feel like he's going to end up being a player that he's not going to be like I don't even know if he'll be a starter. I don't know. He's not going to be like a third or even like a fourth option on a team. Maybe he will off the bench, but like it's been said about him for a long time that his best role is going to be a sixth man. And I feel like at some point in his career, like somebody's going to get him and they're going to be like, dang, we're so glad that we have this player on our team. Like, wow, we have Collin Sexton on like a $10 million a year contract for the next 3-4 years. Like, wow, we are so lucky. Mm-hmm. Like, he just seems like that guy, which is wild because the narrative for his career so long has been like, he doesn't impact winning, blah, blah, blah. And I feel like that's not going to be the case long term. I feel like he's going to end up having a long career, especially if like the defense can progress. Like, you already touched on it. Like, you can't really, his size limits him, but he gives effort and like you can't target him necessarily. Which I think is really one of the more important things, especially in a role where you're like not even necessarily a starter. So moving on, we've talked enough about Collin Sexton.
Wait. Have we though?
Have we? Did you have more?
No,
I'm all for it. We can keep spreading the good word about Collin Sexton. Okay.
I will say there's a guy on this list that we're going to talk about later on who reminds me a lot of Sexton in that like high draft pick, big school. He was supposed to be this guy, kind of just didn't work out for him in his first home, but he's super athletic, super high energy. He eventually found a role on a very competitive team as a sixth man, and he is excelling in that role. And he is very, very high on my list. But yeah,
who
I love.
Could you be talking about?
I love me some Sexton.
No spoilers. All right. So we're on. You said you had Sexton at 8, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So my 8th pick, who I believe you're probably going to have higher. My 8th pick is Austin Reaves. Austin Reaves, it's kind of weird. Like, you could argue he's had a down year just in terms of raw efficiency, which you wouldn't be wrong in saying that, but I don't think that really tells the whole story. Like, yeah, the 3-point percentage is down, but he's taking, almost 2 more attempts per game this year. And he's still like, 36% roughly, which isn't great. It's slightly below league average, but league average is through the roof right now. League average from 3, I could be completely off base here, but I feel like 2 years ago, league average from 3 was like 36%. And then this year, I think it's like, it's got to be like 37%. Like, it's just way higher than it used to be.
I used to have while you're talking, I could pull up. I used to have like a graph that it was like stuck at like 35, 36 for a while. Yeah, okay. I have Reaves at 6.
Okay. I think like you could definitely have him higher than where I have him. I don't know. I think, how much do you think he benefits from the Lakers aspect in all this? Do you think that plays a role at all? Because that's something that people bring up a lot when we talk about Austin Reaves is like, it's only because he plays for the Lakers. Where do you fall in that discussion?
Yeah, and I usually like am there. I'm usually like one of those guys who's like, we gotta like simmer down. It's every like the Taylor Horn Tucker of it all, right? But the thing is with Reaves, and the reason I have him so high, is last season this guy played 16 playoff games, played in a Western Conference Finals, and he played like 36 minutes per game during that run. Like, the fact that you are able to stay on the court during that high leverage of basketball for that amount of time is huge to me. Offensively, I think, out of all the guys we're talking about, I think other than like the number 1, number 2 guy, he's right there with everybody offensively. He's like a great on-ball, off-ball player, super like intuitive with his connective tissue passing. He can scale up and usage, scale down, depending on the context. So I really like his offensive game. I think defensively, he's probably one of the lower guys out of all of these guys. Like, he's really bad, and that's why I only have him at 6. He's been getting picked on mercilessly this season, and I wonder if that's something that teams kind of wisened up to after watching him on Team USA. Because I remember during the playoffs he wasn't getting targeted that much, at least from my recollection. But yeah, I don't know. I don't think he's a product of the LA hype. I think he's legitimately really good, and the fact that he's been able to kind of shake off this tough start and put together a really nice stretch since getting moved to the bench. He's played 25 games as the sixth man. He's averaging 15 points, 5 assists on 63% true shooting, which is 5 points above league average. So I don't know. I still have a lot of Reaves stock. I still view him pretty highly, but I understand you having him at 8.
Yeah, I just need to. Yeah, the defense is probably the thing that's holding me back, especially considering who I have at number 7, which I'm going to let you say who you have at number 7 first.
Oh God!
But number 7 got a boost for me for reasons I'll explain. But you go ahead and give your number 7.
I'm going to say one sentence to stall here because I know number 7 is like, if I'm ever going to go viral for a bad take on a podcast, this number 7 is going to be this take. But yeah, real quick, I'd say Austin Reaves probably has a case as the best off-ball passer of all the combo guards. Just wanted to leave that there.
Definitely.
Well, yeah, my number 7. You may have heard of him. He plays in a big city. His team made a deep postseason run last year, but he only played one playoff game. Tyler Herro is my 7th guy, and I figured you probably have him higher than 7th, I assume.
I do.
Where do you have him at?
So you having him at 7 makes me having him at 5 not look nearly as bad.
Okay, so you didn't go crazy.
No, we're not super far apart on this, but yeah, it appears I'm a little bit more in on Tyler Herro than you are. But go ahead and give your reasoning.
I don't know, man. I don't see it with him. Like, I don't know how to explain it. Like, he is. So for measuring passing, right, for these 17 guys, I used Ben Taylor's passer rating stat, which I think is the best like statistic you can get for this. Obviously, film is number 1.
Yeah.
But of the 17 guys we looked at, Tyler Herro's passer rating was second to last after Eric Gordon. So yeah, just not a good passer. In terms of scoring, he's high volume, but he's low efficiency, doesn't generate much rim pressure. He's a very good tough shot maker, which I think is important, and I think it's helpful in the playoffs to kind of have that in your bag. Defensively, he's got like some of the best defensive metrics of any of the guys in this group, which isn't saying much, but I think he's a byproduct. So, okay, I was toying with this for a second, but I was just like, no, Matt, like, you have to give him the benefit of the doubt because of the tough shot making, because of the sample size. But I spent a couple minutes debating whether or not to put Sexton over Tyler Herro. I really did, just because of the athleticism, just because of the intensity I think he plays with on defense, just because of the first step, the rim pressure. I really think if we put Sexton in Miami Heat's ecosystem and we put Tyler Herro in Utah's ecosystem, like, it'd be like, we'd be having a different conversation. Like, people wouldn't look at me. I think people are going to look at me sideways for even thinking about it. I still think Herro's the better player, but I think they're closer than you think. I think Tyler Herro is closer to Collin Sexton than he is like the upper echelon guys we're going to talk about here.
So the thing that I will say about Tyler Herro, to kind of like, I guess, defend your placement, I think he's a better off-ball player than he gets credit for, but not nearly as good of an on-ball player as he gets credit for. As in, like, I think it's a little bit overstated how much juice he has as just like a individual creator. He's not a bad like pull-up three-point shooter, but he's not really a great one. There's like 18 players attempting at least 4 pull-up threes a game, and he's like the 6th worst in terms of pull-up three-point percentage. So that would be what, like the 12th or 13th, something like that. For some context, number 1 is James Harden at 45%. Number 2 is Tyrese Halliburton at 40%. De'Aaron Fox is third at 40%. Tyler Herro is towards the bottom of the list at 34%. So like, pull up 3-point shooting is a little bit underwhelming. In terms of like, rim pressure, like I don't think he's terrible, but like it's not anything that's really setting him apart from the crowd. He's a 43% finisher at the rim this year. Like that's just because, if you're a bad finisher, but you're generating paint touches, it's important that you're leveraging those paint touches into like playmaking opportunities, because it's like, okay, well, you can't finish, but you're creating a lot of opportunities for your teammates. So I can look past it's actually very difficult to look past 43% shooting at the rim, to be fair. But like, if you're trying to make the case that it's like, it's fine, cause he's like, he's a great playmaker because he's still able to get to the rim a lot. It's like, well, Tyler Hero's not really a great playmaker. He's okay.
Dude, we've talked about this in the pod before. I am sick and tired. Listen, man, I love Miami Heat fans. I love how intense they are with their fandom. And I love, like, when I give one of their guys a shout out, I love, like, getting their likes and their retweets and their engagement. I enjoy it. I'm not going to lie, but I hate when I see threads about Tyler Herro's improved passing. Like, it's the most, like, simple relative to the NBA, right? But it's just like these simple, like, one pass away, like, he drew the nail help and he hits it one pass away. Like, that's nice. I'm glad he can do that. But that does not mean he's like a high level playmaker. There is levels to this shit, man. Come on. It just, like, I don't know, it drives me insane. But yeah, I understand. I could see somebody talking me all the way up to like 4 or 5, but I'm gonna stay where I'm at with 7. I like my other 6 guys more.
That's totally fair. And this is not to say that like Tyler Herro, we're not calling Tyler Herro a bad player.
Not at all.
So please don't destroy Matt. I had him higher. So if you're going to destroy anybody, destroy him, not me. That being said, my number 7 is Coby White.
Okay.
And actually, like, the more I think about it, the more I'm like very, very comfortable with having him here. And I could even be talked into higher. This season is like obviously the best season of his career, and it's like not even close. But like the more I watch him, I'm just like, you embody the combo of combo guard. Like, you do everything. It doesn't necessarily mean you're doing everything like elite, because, if you're doing everything elite, then you're an all-star at that point. But like, he does everything just like at least fine. Like, he is at minimum fine at just about everything you want a combo guard to be fine at. And then he's like, I definitely think compared to the rest of the field, he is a above average defender compared to the guys on this list. I think his scoring has come a long way. His 3-point shooting has come a long way, especially as just like an individual creator. I think he does a good job of getting to the rim. And, really the biggest knock I have on him is just like kind of as a passer. I think that's probably his weakest area. He's probably not the complementary offensive engine as some of the other guys that I ranked higher. But that being said, I think he's come a long way, and I was more than happy to have him in the top 10 and even flirting with top 5.
This might be our biggest disparity, because he's like my 11, 12 guy. Honestly, he was one of my honorable mentions. I might have had him in the top 10 if it wasn't for the respect I paid to Poole. I agree with everything you said. I think he's had a really nice year. I question if he's cooled off and he's like kind of back to where we saw him as last year, which was still like, he was still having like a really under the radar season. Also, I'll say even though impact metrics don't really like him this year, he's one of the better defenders in his archetype. Like, I think he's a really good screen navigator, pretty good on ball defender. He's got good size.
No shortage of effort.
No, exactly. Oh yeah, plays with a ton of effort. I
think that's one of his biggest draws is like that dude does not turn off. He's on constantly.
He's got the little Sexton verb to him, man.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, I like I don't know. I just couldn't, like, as I'm looking at the guys, other than Poole, who I still think like we're going to get the whole Jordan Poole. I'm still holding out hope, and I'm kind of hedging with that. I don't know. I trust Brogdon's shooting and passing more. Yeah, I'm big on Sexton. I really can't. If I put Herro any lower, dude, it's gonna be bad for me. So yeah, okay, that's your 7. So my 6 is Reaves. Who is your 6?
So my 6 is Anfernee Simons, and I have him. You know, I feel bad saying I have him that low. I think Anfernee Simons is a very, 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 very good offensive player. He's probably one of the best offensive players on this list. But I know it's like a combo guard discussion. People don't care about defense like too much, but you still have to be like, you have to move the needle. You either have to be like so good at offense that it doesn't matter that you're a terrible defender, or you have to be like, you know, level the scale a little bit, like just balance out somewhat. And Anfernee Simons is he the worst defender on this list?
We haven't had a chance to talk about him yet, but I'd say Cam Thomas is worse.
Well, yeah. More so of the top 10 guys. I would say he's the worst defender
of my top 10.
Yeah. And like, that's not to say that he's just like, oh, he's a not very good defender. Like, he's a very, very, very bad defender. And I love Anfernee Simons as an offensive player. I think I'm still pretty high on him as a piece moving forward for Portland. And then even as just like a potential trade piece if they decide to go that direction. But I think that season where Dame was still, it was Dame's last season there, and Simons was like kind of having his breakout. It might've been 2 seasons ago actually, but whenever his like kind of breakout was, like, dude, he was doing stuff that like, you're like, oh, why do we need Damian Lillard? Like we can trade Dame because we got Anfernee Simons right here. He was doing stuff that like would make you think that for a second. You'd talk yourself out of it pretty quick, but he's a very, very, very strong offensive player. He is a fantastic space creator on the perimeter. A little bit of an underwhelming driver. That's something I definitely dock him on. What's that?
He's very contact aversive.
Yeah, definitely. He's got the LaMelo Ball syndrome. But the passing, it's there at times. He doesn't make particularly advanced reads. He doesn't create a ton of like, strong passing angles. It's all very, very relatively predictable. Good defenses are going to be able to sniff out what he's trying to create pretty easily, but still, regardless, he is a fantastic offensive player. And, I'm saying a lot of kind of, I guess, negative things about him, but my placement here is more of a compliment than it is like a diss towards him.
Yeah. So I thought I was going to be low on him. I had him at 5, but you're kind of making me think I want Reaves over him now. But I mean, so it's like, okay, like you said, I think when I was saying like those 1 to 2 guys who might be better than Reaves on offense, I was thinking of Simons, right? I think Simons is that good on offense. I think he's that nuclear with his scoring. I think let's look here at the board of truth, the board of tranquility. 1 second. He is, I looked at the wrong thing. This is great podcasting.
Yeah, for real.
Oh, yeah. He is, oh, wait, not as high as I thought. Okay. He was first in scoring volume out of everybody that we looked at, which is like a very nice thing. His true shooting is like right around league average. You're like, oh, if he was on a better team, it would actually be higher. Well, last year when he was playing with Damian Lillard, it was right around the same. So that kind of worries me how he scales with, other high level offensive players. I question that. And then I'm also kind of worried because like I said, I think his defense is so bad that I really couldn't even really have him on the floor for more than 10 to like 13 minutes in a playoff series, like a competitive playoff series where I plan on winning that series. So I don't know. I'm like, man, maybe, because I mean, I've seen Reaves play 30 plus in a playoff series. I know Reaves is having a way worse defensive season this year than last season. I'm just trying, like, okay, if the Lakers swapped out Reaves for Anfernee Simons right now, how do they look?
I don't know. I mean, they're definitely, the problem is like their offense. It would come down to, do you think Anfernee Simons' offense is enough to improve a Lakers offense that is already not very good, and also counteract the already like negative at the defensive position that Reaves is? They're going to get even worse in that regard defensively with Simons. So it's like, is what you're getting from Simons going to be enough to outweigh the definite hit that you're going to take on the defensive end as a result of having him on the floor for significant minutes? I don't know the answer to that, but like gut reaction would say like probably not.
I don't think so. I think I like Reaves' like connective tissue passing more. Like I said, he's just a much better off-ball playmaker. I like that ability to play off LeBron. I know that's one team construct, and you have to look at all 30 team constructs when you're kind of playing this game, but I don't know. Okay, you know what? For now, let's go. I'm going to go Reaves 5, Simons 6. With that, who's your number 5?
So my 5 was Tyler Herro.
Okay, yeah, you're right. So 5's here. So we have each other's 5 through 10.
Yep.
Should you say your 4 first, or should I say my? I feel like we have the same 4 here. I feel like we definitely. He's a guy.
We don't.
We don't? Okay. Well, for me, this guy was like, when I did this exercise, when I started this whole journey a couple weeks ago, of trying to figure this all out, I was like, I didn't even think he would be in my top 10. And then like the more I like dug into stats film, I'm like, wait, this guy's having like a super under the radar season on a team that's just really bad and is usually in the news for all the wrong reasons. It seems like the last couple of years, but yeah, my number 4 guy is Terry Rozier. Who did you have it for?
You know what? We do have the same 4.
I knew it.
It's Terry. And I agree with you, dude. And it was fun because like a lot of these guys scoring wise, you're going to get kind of the same things. Like at a certain point, it's like, yeah, they're all good kind of microwave scorers. They all they all largely do the same things at a certain point, especially at this point in the list. What became fun to me was like, I got to see how these guys are as passers, because that's kind of the next part of the combo guard. So I just went to the high-low and started like watching like assist compilations of all of these guys. And like Terry makes some really, really fun passes. I was just like, whoa. Like I always knew he could be like the pick and roll ball handler. And, you know, even with the Boston team that like, they went to the freaking Eastern Conference Finals. Like he's proven. The weird thing with Terry is like he's another guy who's developed the reputation of being a negative player, like not a winning player. And it's like, I mean, if you look at the context around him, that's not very fair. Like he did what was right for him in getting the money when he went to Charlotte, but like that doesn't mean he like became a worse player. I mean, yes, some of his metrics took a hit. Obviously the usage went up, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But like this guy, it's clear if you watch, and I know a lot of people aren't watching Hornets games, so I get it. But if you watch Hornets games, he's not the problem for their team. Like he is definitely one of the bright spots of the Hornets. And to the point that, especially with the impending salary cap increase and the new TV deal that's coming up. Like I don't even think his contract's always been viewed as like a terrible contract, but I feel like his contract in regards to bad contracts in the league, his is far from like the worst.
Dude, he's making $6.5 million less per year than Tyler Herro.
Yeah, like
I love it.
Terry is a solid value player, and like any way you skin it. So, yeah, man, I love Terry Rozier. Also, shout out Louisville legend, 2013 champion.
I was going to say that. Well, yeah. Are you secretly a Louisville fan? Did I miss that?
I have I guess I can reveal this. I'm a Louisville alumni, so.
You never told me that.
Really?
No.
Yeah, I graduated from Louisville.
Dude.
Yeah.
thought we told each other everything.
I know. I'm sorry. I've been keeping this from you for so long.
Where do I go to school? You don't know?
Is it in Virginia?
No.
I don't know where you go to school, dude. It's in Michigan.
Yeah, the state I live. Yeah, the state I live in. Yep. What school is it?
It's not Michigan State, is it?
Come on, man.
I don't know, dude. I don't know.
It's Michigan State. It is Michigan State. I really thought you knew that.
Right.
I thought we talked about this.
I did know that because you've worn Michigan State apparel before.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't feel as bad. Man. Hey, you didn't even know where I graduated college, so
you didn't say anything.
That's true. That's true.
Are you Rick Pitino's nephew? I just didn't know it.
No, that'd be wild. I would definitely like be somewhere doing sketchy things with my weird uncle if that was the case. That guy's a wild card, let me tell you. The stories I've heard, and this is a podcast for a different day, but like
the legend of Rick Pitino.
Yeah, that dude is a gangster.
I love that. I love that so much. So yeah, Rozier, you mentioned the passing thing. I went ahead and looked at the board, the sacred board. Out of all 17 guys, he's third in passer rating, behind only Spencer Dinwiddie and Malcolm Brogdon, who I think are pretty clearly the two best like pure passers. But he's also able to leverage that with his high scoring, and then he's got that Tyler Herro tough shot making to him too. And then he's proven before, I know it's been a couple of years since he's been in a competitive defensive ecosystem, but he's proven on the Celtics that he can defend when he's got like good defensive personnel around him. That's why I really like him. I wrote about him earlier this week. I like him as a potential trade piece for teams kind of looking for a two-way guard. He's almost, I wouldn't say he's like good enough to like be disqualified from this exercise because he's not, but he's a pretty good defender compared to these other guys. Yeah. So, wait, who's your? Okay, so you have this guy as high as me.
Not
who's your number three?
My number three is Malik Monk.
Okay.
And you go ahead and say your number. Well, you can either say your number two or number three because I think our 2 and 3 are. I think they involve the same players.
Okay. So at my 3 is CJ McCollum, and then if you're watching on video, the way I smiled at Alex, the way I looked at him, the way that every man should want to be looked at. My number 2 is Malik Monk. I think he's the second best player of this archetype. But who should we talk about first?
I think you should gush about Malik Monk after we just cover CJ McCollum real quick.
Okay.
CJ McCollum, I mean, it's really hard to ignore how good he's been this year. This is easily his best year with the Pelicans. He had that stint when he first got traded there where he was like really good, 24 points per game. This year, he's kind of like, it seems as though they've ironed out his role and kind of just been like, okay, we're not going to overextend you as a point guard and we're not going to overextend you as like a scoring option. We're just going to really dial you in and like get the most out of you. And they are. He's above 45% from the field at 46%. He's shooting 44% from 3 on 7 attempts per game, which I believe is the third best of any player in the NBA right now, attempting at least 7 threes a game. So he's like literally one of the best 3-point shooters in the league right now. The passing is, it is what it is. You kind of know what you're getting with CJ McCollum. 5 assists to 1.6 turnovers. Like, you can't ask for a whole lot more than that, especially with so many different offensive creators on the team. Zion's doing his own amount of passing. Brandon Ingram's bringing the ball up the floor a lot. It's like CJ McCollum is doing a lot with like not a ton of opportunity. Like they're maximizing his touches, I feel like, in getting the most out of a player who like, in the past, some people have said it's like, how do you get the most out of CJ McCollum? Like, what context does he really work in? And I feel like he's working in this one. The Pelicans just had like one of the best months of any team in the NBA. I think they were 5th in net rating throughout the month of December. They're definitely on the upswing. I don't know how much of it is sustainable and how far that's going to go, but like CJ McCollum, they figured out how to get the most out of him. I think defensively, he's probably playing the best defense of his career.
Yeah. Oh yeah. So sorry, I don't know. I was just admiring you, man. I kind of I kind of got lost. Yeah. This is so I'll say he benefits slightly, and this is kind of why I gave Monk the nod over him. He benefits slightly from the fact that he's usually the smallest player on the court, which you can't say about all of these guys. Like usually they have to play with another small guy, and then that they end up having to guard the second smallest guy on the other team, which is usually a pretty big guy nowadays. But McCollum's lucky that he plays with, Ingram and Dyson Daniels and Herb Jones and Trey Murphy III and Zion and all that. So that helps him. But so I looked at steal rate, block rate, deflections per 36, defensive rating with them on the floor, defensive rating change when they're on and off, and defensive EPM. And McCollum is the only guy out of all 17 guys I looked at to be in the top 5 in this group in every category. He's been just really solid on defense, maybe the best defensive player in this group. He has that, I don't know, you should remember this because you made the video on it, but you remember that video you made on Russell Westbrook last year when he was doing the thing where he would let guys get by him so he could steal the ball from behind. Matisse Thybulle does that a lot too. Mike Conley does it a lot. Well, CJ McCollum has that move down pat. Just very good hands. Just very. Wait,
did you just say Mike Conley does that a lot?
Yeah, he does.
Dude, I just like you said that. I'm sorry to interrupt you, but like
please.
Said that, and I've been thinking this whole time, like, there's a team that has that is literally a gigantic part of their defensive scheme, and I haven't done a video on it, and it's the Timberwolves. Like the Timberwolves do that almost every defensive
does
possession.
It too.
They
J-Mac
go for it all the
time.
time. It's the best. Anyways, continue.
No, J-Mac does it. It's a little guy trick for the most part because they're like super good at locating the ball. They know they can't really keep a lot of these guys in front of them, so it works. It works so well. I love it. But CJ McCollum has that in his bag. He's really good at icing ball screens. This is like a little micro skill, but I really like the way he ices. Good defender. Offensively, one thing I've really liked about him this year is he's cleaned up his shot chart, taking less mid-range shots and more threes, which I think has made him more scalable, more efficient. Just all around awesome. Hat tip to CJ McCollum. Nobody's talking about him. He was my number 3 guy. And yeah. Can I talk about him now?
Do it. Go.
Oh God.
You have the green light.
So I'm on the record on this podcast about randomly bringing up Malik Monk. I think I'm biased towards him, and I tried to approach this exercise with that in mind. And even with all of that, I still couldn't find a way to pick a guard other than the obvious number 1 who I liked more than Malik Monk in this archetype. He's just okay. So he's not the highest volume scorer. He's not the most efficient scorer. He's not the best passer playmaker, but he's like right up there with everyone. He's like a notch below the best in all of those categories. The whole premise of this archetype is like, can you masquerade as the primary guy when the primary's off the floor? And when Fox is off the floor, that's exactly what Monk does. He's Fox light. He can get to the rim with his downhill burst. He's sorry, I got this little thing in my eye. I'll have to edit that out. But he can get to the rim with that downhill burst. He puts a lot of pressure on the rim. He's athletic. It shows in his defense too. He's got like a really high block rate for this archetype. I need to get your permission, Alex, to do a little video on his decision making against the Memphis Grizzlies on New Year's Eve, because it was just so pristine. Like, it's such an underrated part of his game because he plays so fast that you don't really think about how good he is at making decisions. And then defensively, he's proven like last year, like unlike CJ McCollum, who gets to be the smallest guy on the court for his team almost all the time, like Monk plays with Fox a lot. He plays with Herter a lot. I know Herter has him by like an inch or two, but Herter's still like a frail guy. He's playing with both those guys a lot, and he could still play. I think he played 30 minutes per game against the Warriors last year in that series, in a playoff series. And that's a hard thing to do when you're not the smallest guy on the floor, but you're still like 6'3", 6'4". So that shows me a lot on defense. I don't see a weakness in his game, like in comparison to all these guys, and that's why I had to end up with him at 2. He's just awesome. We need to like go back and just we don't actually need to do this because there's no reason to, but we should go back and just watch like all 7 games of the Warriors Kings series together.
That was such a good series.
Oh, I loved it so much. The vibes on that were perfect. But like nobody other than Gary Payton II, who is the son of the glove. He has the genes of the glove. No one other than him, and sometimes Wiggins, could keep Malik Monk in front of them. And that, like the fact that you can generate rim pressure like that you can collapse the defense, and that you have the wherewithal to make great decisions once you've collapsed the defense is so valuable. I really couldn't find anyone other than our number one guy that was better than him.
So we mentioned him in the pool of players, but the number one guy is Tyrese Maxey. And it's almost to the point now where, like, I think you've said it, where like he's not quite a top 25 player, but he's a top 50 player. He might be an all-star this year, maybe not. We'll see. Offensively, there's not a whole lot bad you can say about this guy aside from like, playmaking wise. I think
he misses passes. He misses some high level passes. That's what keeps him from being an all-star to me.
Yeah, he doesn't. There are other guys on this list who are averaging less assists, and like they're making more like kind of high level reads. Mm-hmm. I would say like even Terry Rozier is I'd probably give him an edge, but Tyrese Maxey, he's fantastic. But I'll let you do a good job of kind of counteracting what the zeitgeist has to say about a player. So what do you got on Tyrese Maxey?
You think that?
No, not in a bad way, but like
in a good way. Like that, you just made my day.
You seem to tailor people's expectations. I think people get caught up in the hype, and like you did it with the Bucks, and now like Tyrese Maxey. People love Tyrese Maxey, and it's fine. Tyrese Maxey's fantastic, but also it's like, be reasonable. We don't have to like lie about these players. So you go ahead and kind of, dial people, rein them in a little bit.
The thing is, I watched this film essay one time on Batman, right? It was like Batman versus Superman. Like Batman exists because he's seen the darkness of life, and he wants to make sure that other people don't have to see it. And I used to go around telling people that Jordan Poole was better than Tyrese Halliburton. I've seen the darkness of what being too excited about guys can do to you. Okay, so I don't want anyone else to feel that way. That's why I'm always going around and killing everybody's vibe. I'm just like, you know what I mean? Like, okay, here's the thing. I did a deep dive on Tyrese Maxey because I remember that week he went off against Boston and stuff. He had the 50-point game, and everyone's like, dude, all-star? How about all-NBA? And I'm like sitting there, I'm like, okay, well, you can only have 15 guys as all-NBA guys. You can only have 25 all-stars. So I start looking through it. I'm like, it just doesn't make sense like that. So we've never seen him as a primary in the playoffs. Which is like, I know it's, things can't happen until they do. I get that. And I mean, you could use the same logic with Shea, but I think Shea's shown a little bit more counters. I also trust his length more, his defense more, his passing more. If you watch the tape, you will see like, maybe we'll cut this into something, but you'll see like plays where Maxey misses like pretty high level reads that, otherwise guys his size who are all stars, all NBA players should make. Defensively, he's still a negative. I think his athleticism, it helps him, make plays in transition, and it helps him stay on the floor for sure, so you can enjoy the offense. But I don't know. He's not a good enough offensive player to make up for his defensive faults in a way that makes him an all-star to me, and that's why he's in this grouping. But he is clearly like high and above like everyone else. I'd say like Maxey's like a top 50 player. I don't even think I'd have Monk, my number 2 guy, as like a top 75 player. I don't even know if I would have him as a top 75 player in the NBA. Maybe top 100 ish. But yeah, that's kind of where I'm at with Maxey. Yeah.
And that was a lot about Maxey from both of us, where like he's at the number 1 spot. We're not bagging on him. I love Tyrese Maxey. I did a whole video on him. And I think he has a lot of offensive juice, but yeah, I think a lot of stuff gets said about him that is not necessarily accurate. I don't want to bag on the guy because he's number 1. It's like he's fantastic. He's a great 3-point shooter. Even if he has cooled off a little bit from where he was, like at the beginning of the season, he was ridiculous. It was like 45% from 3 on like, it was like 9 attempts per game. Now he's down to 39% on 8 attempts per game, which like I say that like he's down. It's like, that's still elite. Like he's an elite 3-point shooter, and he plays off Embiid really well.
I'll say something positive about Maxey. He has like the deadliest step back ever. Like he is so fast that like you have to sell out anytime it looks like he's driving downhill. And then he's so good at stopping on a dime when he's in top speed and then just stepping back, generating power and stepping back. Like it's a work of art. It's one of, like this podcast, I think it's God's gift to man. This specific episode, I think the podcast in large is just, it's just what it is, right? It's just me and Alex like fulfilling our deepest basketball fantasies.
It's like the nice sweater that you get from your grandma on on Christmas. It's like you like it, but it's not what you asked for. But this episode is man, like it's the Xbox Series X that you wanted more than anything.
Yeah. Michelangelo, Da Vinci, Leonardo, all of them, they pale in comparison to what we just did.
Right. Exactly. What a great way to close out this episode. Matt, do you have anything else to add about the top 10 combo guards in the NBA?
Two things. One, if you guys want to see something like this again, like if you want us to do, for example, best drop big men in the NBA or best switch big men or best whatever, let us know and we could make that happen for you. If there's any video ideas you have, let us know. Comment section or Alex's DMs. He loves getting DMs from people. So just do it that way. And the other thing, Alex, before we go, we should probably give them a recap of our top 10s, right?
Yes, we absolutely should. So do you want to go first?
Yeah, I could.
Okay.
So 10 Poole, 9 Brogdon, 8 Sexton, 7 Herro, 6 we have a little change. I'm going to go Simons at 6, Reaves at 5, Rozier at 4, McCollum at 3, King Monk at 2, and then Tyrese Maxey at 1.
All right. So at 10, I have Malcolm Brogdon. At 9, I have Sexton. At 8, I have Reaves. At 7, I have Coby White. At 6, I have Simons. 5, I have Herro. 4, I have Malik Monk. No, 4, I have Terry Rozier, 3, I have Malik Monk. 2, I have CJ McCollum. And number 1, Tyrese Maxey. And that is both of our top 10 combo guards in the NBA. Now, I'm going to reveal a secret to the listeners. A bit of a reward for them listening this far. This is not our first time recording this episode. We recorded literally 15 minutes before this one, did the full hour podcast, and we got to the end, hit stop on the recording. My recording, I only had about 7 minutes of it, and the other 50 minutes that we had was gone completely, lost to the internet dark void. Maybe it's floating around out there somewhere in deep internet space. But yeah, our original list, you'll never know because my recording's gone. I don't even know what my original list was at this point. So yeah, that's
Alex. How about this as a reward for listening, right? If to see who is listening till the very end. If you listen till the very end, you can either in the comments section on YouTube, in the comments on Spotify, my DMs or Alex DMs, ask us one question you want us to answer on the next podcast, and we will do it.
Ooh, that's good. I like that. Yeah. Have a little Q&A segment on the next pod.
Yeah. Only if you listen till the end, though.
Yes.
How would you know about it?
Right. Otherwise, we don't want to hear it, which I guess we wouldn't anyways. But to close this all out, put a nice little bow tie on all of this. If you're listening on Spotify and Apple, whatever podcast platform, if you enjoyed this and you listened this far, we would deeply appreciate it if you left a 5-star rating. And, let us know what you want us to talk about next. If you're listening on YouTube or watching on YouTube, go ahead and subscribe. We're uploading relatively consistent clips at this point. We had the Marjan Beauchamp one, which is our best performing video so far. So that's, a little round of applause to you guys for the support. We got more clips coming out. Matt's been killing it lately with the clip game. So yeah, we're excited about 2024 for the media pass. It's it's exceeded my expectations in terms of how it's gone so far, because podcasts are hard, man. But, people just think like, oh, it's just two dudes sitting in front of a microphone. I'm like, no.
It's so much more than that.
It's a lot of work. it's
we
kind
have
of a
headphones
pain.
too.
Yeah. So, thank you guys for the support. It was a fun late start to 2023 with the podcast, but we're super excited for the future. Matt, any closing words?
I love you guys. Love you, Alex. Love everybody who listens.
Love you, man. And we love all of you, and we'll see you in the next one.